Look, we have seen disturbing reports of violence on April 11 near Kanbalu township in the Sagyan region, I think it's called, of Myanmar. As a neighbor and friend of the people of Myanmar, we have repeatedly called for cessation of violence by all sides and peaceful resolution of all issues. India reiterates its call for a return of peace, stability and democracy in Myanmar. Yashi, on your question regarding Qatar, look, we have been trying to get you updates as we have. Of course, they don't always follow with our weekly schedule, so sometimes we are unable to get you a specific update. This week, as I mentioned to you, last time we were discussing, this is now in the legal process, more formal in the legal process. Let me emphasize that we are making all efforts to assist these Indians who are detained. And we are also extending consular assistance as well as legal assistance as part of the system legal process that is underway. We are also engaged with the Qatari authorities. Our embassy in Doha continues to remain in touch with the families. And I understand that the next date of the hearing, the last date I think was 29th of March, next date of the hearing is in early May. And we are trying to see what can be done before that and in connection with that hearing. I don't have any specific update apart from this. शैलेंद्र, आपने पूछा एक पाकिस्तान स्टेटमेंट था, उनका एक बयान था. देखिए, G20 के बारे में उन्होंने एक्चुअली कमेंट दोनों इश्यूज पे की थी, दोनों जगह के बारे में श्रीनगर में. ये जो G20 के जो इवेंट्स हो रहे हैं, ये जो मीटिंग्स हो रही हैं, ये पूरे भारत में और मतलब भारत के हर क्षेत्र में हो रही हैं, ऑर्गेनाइज की जा रही हैं. और इसमें जम्मू एंड कश्मीर में और लद्दाख में करना बहुत नेचुरल है, और क्योंकि ये जगह हम हमेशा से भारत के अभिन्न और अविभाज्य अंग मानते हैं और हमारे हैं, इसीलिए मैं इतना ही कहूँगा कि हर क्षेत्र में कर रहे हैं और ये हमारा नेचुरल रिस्पॉन्स है कि हम यही करेंगे. Siddhant, on your comment, look, you made certain suppositions. I'm not getting into that. I think on the South China Sea, we have made our position quite clear. I don't have an immediate comment on the recent developments, but we have talked about a rules-based order and the need to maintain peace and resolve issues by dialogue, as well as our position on settlement of disputes there. As regards on bilateral issues with China, you know our position. So I think those are slightly different, and we have been. I don't think there's a change in either of them with the recent developments. Pranay, you had mentioned. आपने पूछा था ये SCO के अभी मीटिंग्स है. कुछ सिर्फ ये दोनों नहीं, आपने सिर्फ रक्षा मंत्रियों की बैठक की जिक्र की है और फॉरेन मिनिस्टर वाले भी है. देखिए, मैं जैसा कहा, हम इन्विटेशन सबको भेजते हैं, कॉन्फ्रेंस आते रहते हैं. मैं हर मीटिंग का उस तरह से कॉन्फर्मेशन रखता नहीं हूँ. आप आई नो मीडिया चाहते हैं कि हर मीटिंग हमें बता पाऊँ, पर मीटिंग के पहले पता चल जाना चाहिए. वो डिफरेंट मिनिस्ट्रीज भी हैंडल करती हैं. सडनली फॉरेन मिनिस्ट्री वाले मीटिंग के लिए हम आपको बता देंगे कैसा पार्टिसिपेशन है. हम तो एक्सपेक्ट करेंगे कि हर मेंबर अटेंड करे. Ayushi, you asked about the issue of as you know, the first deputy foreign minister of Ukraine was here. Your specific question was whether invitation has been extended. You said to officials and you said President of Ukraine would be happy to speak. Look, I think we have answered this question in the past on occasions, I think including by Foreign Secretary. To be honest, I have nothing to add to that for the moment in terms of participation. I think our Foreign Secretary had mentioned about the list of participants having been already declared. So I don't have any update on that. Shashank, on your query, look, I think External Affairs Minister is just about landing in Mozambique. I don't want to prejudge what he will discuss. Yes, of course, what you mentioned is an element there in our bilateral relationship. Whether he will take it up or not, let the visit happen, and hopefully we'll be able to get back to you with more info. मधुरेंद्र जी, ट्राई जंक्शन के ऊपर या दोकलाम इशू पे पिछले हफ्ते जब विजिट हुई थी हमारे भूटान के राजा आए थे, तो उस समय डिटेल में इस बारे में कहा गया था और बताया गया था कि हम किस तरह से देखते हैं और सिक्योरिटी सिचुएशन पे किस तरह से हम नज़र रखते हैं. मुझे उसके बाद और कुछ ऐड करने के लिए अभी है नहीं मेरे पास इस हफ्ते और कोई स्पेसिफिक. आपने जनरली कहा कि कुछ हो रहा है वहाँ पे, मैं कमेंट नहीं करना चाहूँगा. हाँ, मैं कह रहा हूँ जो सिक्योरिटी इश्यूज होती हैं उस पर हम नजर रखते हैं, जो नेसेसरी मेजर लेनी होती है हम लेते हैं, पर ऐसा कोई पर्टिकुलर अपडेट नहीं मेरे पास. Shinjoy, on your specific issue of trade, I would refer you to the Minister of Commerce, to be honest, but as far as I know, 24th to 28th or around that period, there is next round of talks on the, India, UK possible FTA. But if you want a little more details on that, let's leave it to the trade negotiators rather than me getting into the details. Your second question, I'll come back to you on that. I'll place it out. Kalol, your question I didn't understand, so let me answer what I understood, which I answered last week. Are we satisfied with action taken against the vandalism and attacks at the High Commission? Look, as I mentioned, the issue is not of satisfaction. We wanted to see action on the ground. We have been urging host countries, including the UK, to take action against those who vandalize the flag, and as well as our High Commission, identify them, take action as the perpetrators. My suggestion would be ask them on what action they've taken. We are certainly pressing them to continue to take measures to ensure security of premises, safety of our personnel, diplomatic and consular personnel who are there in London. So, and this is the ongoing conversation that we are having with the UK authorities. We had issued, a detailed press release on what discussions covered. And that's a good sense of how the conversations went. You wanted to know in that, did you ask on the infrastructure? Who asked on the infrastructure? You had asked on the infrastructure. Look, there is, of course, a situation on the ground, and when the infrastructure, I'm not sure how much of it is right now that the conversation dealt with, but certainly there is a relationship that we have with Ukraine in terms of cooperation. And many of the issues were discussed in terms of stronger economic linkages. I don't know if any company has actually mentioned anything. I'm not even sure if reconstruction is happening in that perspective. So let me not prejudge that already to your part of it. नीरज, आपका सवाल था कोई इनवाइट आया था उसमें. देखिए, वो हाई लेवल विजिट्स इस तरह का आपने एग्जैक्ट इनवाइट क्या था? देखिए, ऐसे उन्होंने, देखिए पत्र में क्या था मैं नहीं कह सकता, जैसे मैंने कहा ठीक नहीं होगा, पर उन्होंने खुद कहा था कि हम चाहेंगे कि वो आए प्रधानमंत्री. पर ऐसे विजिट्स जैसे आप जानते हैं हाई लेवल विजिट्स अभी इस तरह से अनाउंस नहीं होते हैं. अगर कुछ मेरे पास अपडेट हो तो जरूर आपको बताएंगे. As regards, let me just take the defense Ukrainian one. On the G20, Suhasini, your query, look, let me repeat what I said. The question was specific about, will India invite Ukrainian officials or president of Ukraine to address the G20, and my answer remains the same. We have answered this question. Most recently, the Foreign Secretary answered it here, and I have nothing new to add to the matter. As regards, I'm not going to get into comments of a visiting leader. I don't know in what context it was made. If there is a visit to Ukraine from any leader here, we'll certainly announce that. Our position on the conflict in Ukraine has been articulated many times. I don't know if the word is unbalanced is not something that we have worked with. We certainly have worked towards peace, and I think that's what dialogue and diplomacy is what we've been stressing. So if there is a visit or anything like that, I will certainly share that, but I don't want to respond to a specific word or without knowing the full context. As regards प्रणय, आपका प्रश्न था डिफेंस कोऑपरेशन भी, उसी में उसके हमने उसमें जिक्र किया था कि हम असिस्टेंस दे सकते हैं, मेडिसिन, मेडिकल इक्विपमेंट वगैरह. हमने हमारे जो प्रेस रिलीज की बात कर रहा हूँ, और उसमें हमने इस बारे में बात की थी कि हमारे इस तरह से स्ट्रेंथन कर सकते हैं कोऑपरेशन यूक्रेन के साथ. पर मेरे पास अभी इमीडिएट डिफेंस सेक्टर में हम क्या करने वाले हैं या कर सकते हैं इसके बारे में कोई ऐसा अपडेट है नहीं. पर काफ़ी हमारा डीप कोऑपरेशन रहा है, और उसके काफ़ी एलिमेंट्स उस प्रेस रिलीज में है. पेंटागन पेपर्स, लेट मी स्टार्ट विद दैट. आपका जो क्वेश्चन था, मैंने कुछ देखा नहीं है उस पेपर्स के बारे में, ना कोई इंडिया के बारे में कोई जिक्र है, मुझे इतना दूर मालूम है, तो इसीलिए अभी मेरे पास कोई कमेंट नहीं है उसके बारे में. Sridhar, you asked about charges on the Indians detained in Qatar. My understanding is the charges have not been unsealed. It's not yet public, but as the legal process unfolds, perhaps they will be. We're keeping an eye out on that. Manas, your question was regarding a media report regarding the UN Democracy Fund. You mentioned something about George Soros. I don't want to get into exactly what the report, there were a couple of reports, but let me just make a larger point which you are saying about dealing with organizations of George Soros versus UN Democracy Fund. I think these are separate issues, and I think there's been a attempt to mix all this and have perhaps a misleading image of the overall situation. So let me clarify. One, as a responsible member of the UN, India participates in and promotes various UN activities. This includes contributing to a number of voluntary funds and programs of the UN. The UN Democracy Fund, the UNDEF that you referred to, is one of them. Incidentally, this fund, this UN Democracy Fund, receives funding from, I think, nearly 45 member states, including, of course, India that you referred to. Now, UNDEF allocates the funds received to numerous projects across the world, projects being executed by various organizations. And in this process, it is guided by UN norms and procedures. So, as I said, these funds are allocated for various projects and across the world, and then various organizations implement this. So that's our contribution and participation in the UN UNDEF Advisory Board or UN UNDEF organization itself. Now, there are comments also related to, as you said, George Soros, etc. And I remember in the report there was some reference to EM's comments. Look, on the EM's comments, I think they stand on their own merits, and I certainly wouldn't, I don't think they require any clarification. All I would say is EM's main point was that democracy or people's verdict in democracies must be respected, not undermined, and this important principle should not be obfuscated. And if I remember, the other last element was Soros' organization related to those OSF, I think it was, the Open Society Foundation, are not being allowed to send money here. Look, that's a completely different issue. Insofar as any regulatory action is against any institution sending money to India is concerned, these are governed by our rules and regulations, and where necessary, relevant agencies take suitable measures as per the law. So I think these are three separate elements, and I thought, I'll